And then when it comes to feeding your aquarium fish, there are a lot of different options, and I've made videos before about all the different types of fish food that are available that you can choose to feed your fish. And one of those is live food. Now behind me you see that I've got a shelf here. I've got pellet foods, flake foods, I've got freeze-dried foods, I've got foods that are made specifically for baby fish, I have granule foods, I have foods in a little freezer behind this shelf that has frozen foods. But right here in this hatchery we have live fish food, live baby brine shrimp, one of the best foods that you can feed lots of different types of fish. And today we're going to feed this out, and I'm also going to show you step by step on how to make it. It's really easy. Hey fish friends, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Zenzo with Tazawa Tanks. Now do me a big favor before we talk about live baby brine shrimp, hit that like button. Why are we hitting the like button? Well, you get to watch this video for free, and the like really helps me, it helps the channel. And also it's kind of like a thank you to the editor, Matt, for suggesting this video, as he said, hey, why don't you make a video about hatching baby brine shrimp? I'd like to learn, and I'm sure your audience would as well, so thanks, Matt. All right, so let's talk about brine shrimp. It is a really, really good food to feed your fish. Now you can get brine shrimp in freeze-dried form, you can get it in frozen form, and of course you can hatch your own brine shrimp and feed it in baby form, or you can also grow it out and feed it in adult form. But it's very, very nutritious when it's in this baby form. It is full of nutrients that are still there from the egg. So like anything that hatches from an egg, it's absorbing all those nutrients that are in that original egg capsule, and it's just packed with nutrients. Another great thing about baby brine shrimp is it's very small, so you can feed it to very tiny, newly hatched fish or small types of fish, and even some of my medium-sized fish will eat it as well. It is also something that adds a lot of enrichment for fish, because you'll have live food that's swimming around in the water. They'll have to chase it and find it and all that kind of stuff, so it's good for the fish that way as well. Now this is a hatchery that's made specifically for hatching baby brine shrimp, but you can actually make your own if you're on a budget. You can make them out of like 2-liter soda bottles. There's lots of different ways of making a brine shrimp hatchery. I just like using this one. It's designed for it. It's got the perfect little valve down here to hatch them out. It's got everything on top to get the air line in there. First thing, so once you're done and your brine shrimp are ready to go, you're gonna remove your air source. The reason why we do that is we want to let everything kind of settle, because we want the brine shrimp that is hatched out of their eggs to come down to the bottom, and all of the empty egg capsules that have hatched, which are these darker brown things here, they're going to float to the top. They're drawn to the light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little light here. This is just a little light from IKEA. It's just a little clip light here. So I'm going to stick this right down here, and already I can see the brine shrimp starting to swim down towards the bottom. I can see the eggs are floating up, and you can see this dark kind of cap up top. So those are all eggs. I'll just stick my finger in here. These are all the empty egg shells, basically. The capsules are going to float to the top, and all the brine shrimp are going to come down to the bottom. So we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and take some out. It's been about five or 6 minutes where we let the kind of everything settle. So you can see that it's super dark on top. Those are all those empty egg casings essentially, and it's darker on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take like a little clean cup, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this valve. Now if you make your own hatchery, then you'll just have to make sure that you have some way of opening it from the bottom, but it's still pretty easy. So I'll just crack this thing right here, and we're going to see this good old liquid gold kind of coming out, and we can see brine shrimp flowing out of there, nice and dark and orange. So I'll close it up. Now what I like to do is I like to just put this right into the aquarium. I don't really worry about separating it, but if you have a situation where you don't want any of the salty water going into your aquarium, you can use a very fine sieve, and this is just one that I got off of Amazon. It's like a super fine mesh, and basically you just look for a brine shrimp net, and it will allow you to catch all the brine shrimp, the baby brine shrimp, without capturing the water. So what I'll do is I'm just going to use a little pipette here, just squeeze it in, and we'll just go and feed some different tanks. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to put some in my brackish tank. And what I have in here is I have some bumblebee gobies. I'm gonna put some in my 125 gallon Tank tank, which I love this tank. Made some recent videos about it. We're gonna go ahead and just pour some right in here. All of the adult fish in here, even the ones that are like this big, will eat this, but also for all the little tiny baby fish that are inside these snail shells, as this floats around in the water column, it's gonna pass by their shells, and then they're gonna have an opportunity to chase some of these tasty little shrimps as well. I went ahead and got a little bit more from the hatchery, kind of what was left, and I'm going to put some in this shell dweller tank because there's also some babies in here. So again, having this live food swimming around is going to be super beneficial for them. There is one thing that I do want to mention, because I've made this mistake before and I know others have as well, is you don't want to leave this stagnant for too long if you're still trying to hatch brine shrimp out of here or catch them out of here. Because what will happen is if the water's not moving and if you have your light down below, eventually all the ones at the bottom are going to die because they kind of suffocate one another. They kind of like pancake each other. And if they're down here for too long, if you leave this for like 15 or 20 minutes without any circulation, you're just going to have dead brine shrimp. You can still feed them. You just want to make sure that they get fed to a tank where they're going to be sure to eat all of them. Otherwise, you'll have dead brine shrimp that's going to foul up your water. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this thoroughly. And then we will start the process of hatching brine shrimp. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I'm cleaning this is I like to open the valve. Water's pulling out there, you can see. That way we're just cleaning the inside of the valve as well, not just the main body of the hatchery. Now we have a very clean hatchery. Rinse it thoroughly, make sure there's no like unhatched eggs or any kind of residue in there. Just give it a quick rinse and a wipe down. And so now we're ready to go. So what I do is I put 2 tablespoons of salt. One option would be to use like an aquarium salt. So here we have the Fritz aquarium salt. This is the old package. The new package is a little bit different. 2 tablespoons, that will work. What I like to use is I like to use a brine shrimp salt, and this is designed more to mimic like what they would have in their natural environment, whether it's a salt lake or the ocean. There's more minerals in here. This is kind of like a reef salt. So you could use like a reef salt, which I use for my brackish tanks, and that will work as well. Don't use table salt, but a rock salt, an aquarium salt, a brine shrimp salt, a reef or a marine tank salt, that would all work well. And I'm running out of battery. Okay, I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons of my brine shrimp salt. And here I've got my little measuring spoon, so I know it's a tablespoon. And I'll dump in 2 tablespoons of salt, and this is going to be for 2 liters of water. So you would put 1 tablespoon of salt for 1 liter. This is a 2-liter container, so I put 2 tablespoons in there. Now, if I were just using like regular like aquarium salt, I probably put like a little bit of like baking soda in there just for like the carbonate hardness. But with marine reef salt, brine shrimp salt, you don't need to do that. Now, if you live in an area where you have like regular tap water with like chlorine in it, don't use any dechlorinator, just use the regular tap water. The chlorine will actually help thin out the shells of the eggs, the capsules. It will actually help them hatch a little bit better. Where I live, we don't have nice chlorinated water. We have very, very high concentrated chloramine in our water, and it kills stuff instantly. So what I do is I just put a splash of dechlorinator, like a tiny bit in there, because I don't want to have dead brine shrimp. So I'll just do a little bit of squirt, just like that, tiny bit, just to ensure that the chloramine is handled. Again, if you just have regular chlorine, don't do this. You don't need to. And from here, I'm just going to add in warm water. You could put in cold water. It just makes the hatch take longer because you do want to have some warmth. So I'm going to put in warm water and fill up my container. So that was pretty easy. 2 tablespoons of salt, some lukewarm water, and we filled it 2 liters, right? So now we're ready to go. All I need to do is set this up somewhere. Now this actually comes with a stand, so this would fit in here, and you could just set that on any counter or table or whatever. I actually like to mount mine to the wall. It just makes it a lot easier, so I just have a little thing there that hooks onto the handle. So we'll just mount this to the wall. So we do need light. If you're in an unheated room, there's a couple things you can do. You can put actually a heater inside of this, but because this room is heated, we don't need to do that. But a light bulb will also produce heat, and that's going to help to keep your water warm, because the brine shrimp are going to hatch better or sooner if the water is warmer, like in normal aquarium temperatures. The other reason why we have the light is, as I showed you, the brine shrimp are light sensitive, and as they hatch, they're going to go towards that light, especially when you want to harvest them, and it's just like the perfect kind of setup here. Next step, once we've done the water and we've mounted it, we've got our light, everything's ready to go, before we put air in there, we're going to do eggs. So here are the eggs that I use. These are the Aquarium Co-op brine shrimp, baby brine shrimp eggs. I work for Aquarium Co-op, as you know, full transparency. We have a full freezer, like a walk-in freezer, like you'd find like in a restaurant, that we keep these in. And then when you're ready to have your own, we ship them to you like this. And inside of this container is this sealed bag. They look like little tiny seeds, basically. The way that I do it, because I've been doing it so long, is I just pour it right in there, like, that's about right. But for the sake of education, we're gonna measure out a teaspoon here, and I'm just gonna dump in a teaspoon of eggs. Now, that's a good hatch, but I know that I'm going on vacation soon and I'm trying to fatten up my fish, so I'm gonna do a little bit extra here. We're gonna do 1.5. There we go. These spoons are super handy, by the way. They're really inexpensive. You've got a tablespoon on one side, a teaspoon on the other side, and then you have a 1/4 teaspoon and a 1/2 teaspoon on the back end. So yeah, I'll put a link of these down below. Don't forget, put your eggs back in the fridge. And now all I need to do is I need to add air. So here I have an air line that's connected to my central air pump system here. I'm gonna put the lid on this and drop in this hard airline tubing all the way down. Now, the important thing with this is you don't want a very turbulent bubbles. I don't want to do this, or I'll just demonstrate for video purposes here. So I don't want it to be really, really hard like that. It will actually, when the brine shrimp hatch, it will smash them around basically, and they won't survive. So we want like a gentle flow, just enough to agitate the eggs and agitate the water, keep everything oxygenated and moving around over the next 24 hours or 18 hours, depending on how quickly you're hatching, or 36 hours if it's taking a little bit more time. The brine shrimp are being circulated through the water. It's the right amount of salt, the salinity is perfect, they're gonna have a warm temperature, and they're gonna start hatching, and then they're gonna continue to kind of cycle around in the hatchery, feeding off of the egg yolk, essentially, from the shell. So there you have it. It's done. It's that easy. If I weren't filming this, it would probably take me like 2 minutes to get this thing running and ready to go for tomorrow. I have seen people that will have like 2 or 3 of these lined up. In fact, at our retail store, I think we run 2 at a time so that we always have some alternating. But if you're breeding a lot of fish, or if you want to have like brine shrimp every day, then you could have a couple of these so that you could alternate and go back and forth between batches. So all I'm gonna do is leave this alone and come back tomorrow evening, and I can hatch out brine shrimp just like we did today. It is about 25 hours or so since I filmed that. You can actually see them swimming around. So 24 or so hours later, and we have more food to feed. Super easy, a lot of fun. Hopefully this was helpful. Do me a favor, if you haven't done so already and you're this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell while you're at it, all that good stuff. And since you're still here, check out this video.